Hello, Jem Ayres, sex coach here, and I'm introducing some grounding breathing. And a lot of my work is based on having very conscious awareness around our breath and how it changes what's going on to the sensations in our body. And I'm introducing this as the idea of a preparation practice for before you do some body work with me or before you get online with an online session with me, so that we can really just come back to our center and realign, because we've probably had busy lives running around, and it's really easy, especially if we're doing online classes or online workshops or one-to-ones, to suddenly dash in from something, from work, from being out shopping, whatever, and just dash onto screen without really transitioning and allowing our body to get back to ourselves after being so outward with others. So for this practice, I like to kneel, but I don't have very good knees, so I put a cushion, just a cushion, like under my bum, or a yoga block or so, and instantly, that's lifted me up and that's taken pressure off my knees, and my hips can still bend and move and flex as they need. If kneeling's not good for you, cross-legged is also fine, but again, maybe a cushion or a yoga block under your bum to raise your hips is often helpful for those of us with quite tight hamstrings. Or sitting on a chair is also fine with kind of legs bent, feet on the floor, hands somewhere on your body, maybe your thighs, maybe your belly, wherever is restful for you. And your spine can be straight, but not rigid and not propped, leaning back too much or leaning forward too much, so that it can still move and flow. And I'm just going to drop in, so I'm closing my eyes, and feel free to join in with me. And of course, as usual, for those of you that work with me, you'll know this. The first thing we do is check in with our breath. So we don't really need to change anything about our breath. We're just feeling what's going on there. Where does the breath land in the body? What part of the body moves with the breath? Where do I feel the in-breath? Where do I feel the out-breath? And as I start to just get more aware of my breathing, I'm starting to notice more sensation in my body. So I notice there's a little bit of tension, which I could just stretch out in my back. And there's some tension in my jaw. And the jaw is often referred to as the mirror of the pelvis. Very similar bone structure, very similar muscular structure. And two bits of scaffolding at opposite ends of the same tube. So just being really aware that if there's tension in our jaw, there's possibly tension in our pelvis, and vice versa. So doing something to release the jaw so we can breathe through the mouth, and really letting that jaw hang. People struggle with mouth breathing. Maybe we worry about our bad breath. Maybe we've been told we look gormless as a child if we have our mouth open. We can let go of all of that. And just breathe through the mouth. And as I do this, I notice I can take my breath deeper into my belly, that place of rest and relaxation and digest. I'm just allowing some sound on the out breath, so we're just breathing in through the mouth and then out with some sound. And keep breathing like this as I'm talking. I notice that the sound helps the sensation to be felt further down in my body. So when I breathe, I can feel the sensation in my throat and in my chest quite easily. But when I make deeper sound or longer sound, I can feel it travelling down to my core, my belly button, and seeing if I can really get that sensation of vibration into my pelvis just through the breath and the sound. And take a few more breaths like this as I speak over you. The sound can be the thing that people find the most challenging. We're often taught not to make too much sound, not to be heard, especially not in sounds that sound like they may be pleasurable. That's definitely not allowed, is it? So let's just break through that right now. Giving your body permission, just saying yes to feeling what's going on. And just taking a few more breaths like this and just feeling what's going on in the body. Maybe this is the first time today you've taken to stop and feel what's going on. And as I sit with this awareness in my body, I'm starting to notice new sensations, and possibly sensations that have been there all along, but because I'm just taking this time out to listen to the subtleties of the body instead of the loudness of the mind, I can finally hear them. So the body speaks in the language of sensation, so I can feel a little bit of tension in my chest actually. And when I start to breathe, I can feel that tension a little bit moving somewhere else. It's just widened out a bit. Oh, nice. So it started to fade away a little bit for me. And I'm noticing some tension in the back of my neck where my head is being held up. And we don't need to know why we experience these sensations. It's just noticing, and saying them out loud is helpful for the body to hear that it's being acknowledged. It's like, yeah, I hear you, body. I'm listening now, body, and I'm taking notice of the subtle signals that you're giving me, because we so often override those signals or red flags or things that tell us that we're pushing ourselves too far, or whatever, the position we're sat in isn't good for us, or the environment or the person that we're with isn't good for us, or the clothing that we're in isn't as comfortable for us as it could be. So we're just dropping in to feel what's going on. And after the first few kind of tensions and aches and pains, I just noticed my forehead was very tense. There was some holding there. And as soon as I just took my awareness to it, it melted away a bit. And behind that tension, there was a little bit of low level, I'm going to call it pleasure, just niceness, a nice sensation, something that felt good. A bit like sparkling or movement, if you like. And I keep breathing, and as I keep breathing, I'm feeling warmth in my belly. That's a nice sensation for me to notice. And I'm noticing that my feet are colder than the rest of me. So I'm just going through tracking the different parts of my body and the different sensations I'm feeling. And your sensations might be very, very different to mine, and that's completely fine. And on another day, they will be different. And just noticing, can I tune into anything that feels like pleasure in my body, or at least at the very least neutral. So we don't want to focus on the pain and the tension. It's like, how can I tune into any pleasure sensations that feel nice for me? And just take my awareness there. Oh, so I notice there's some pleasurable sensations in the back of my ribs, which I've never felt before. So as I'm breathing, let my body expand into that area, so really expanding my ribs back. And seeing if I can expand that in experience of pleasure, or enhance it or change it in any way. And we're just sensation tracking through the body. And you can stay here for as long as you like. And I'm just going to slowly find a soft transition out of this experience. finding some stillness just to integrate. Hand on my heart and my sex, or hand on my heart and my belly, so I can just feel. So what echoes of that experience are left behind? What's left behind in that place of non-doing? When I'm just being, what can I feel? Taking some time to get my body back onto the screen without shocking my system too much. And that is sensation tracking.